Hi, thank you for listening to Journey with Jess. I'm your host, Jessica Monge, and today we're going to be talking to my good friend, Sueey Gutierrez. She's a first-generation Salvadorian-American who is an artist here in New York. In this interview, we're going to get pretty deep about her childhood, growing up, how her creencia has inspired her artwork. I just want to encourage you to take breaks as needed. It's a very deep episode that I'm truly honored that Sueey got to share with us. It's going to be a good one. I'm so excited for it. Without any further ado, this is Sueey Gutierrez.
All right. Suhey, thank you so much for being on Journey with Jess. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. I know I'm bothering you on a Saturday morning.
It's okay. That's the availability right now. So,
I know you're busy. Tell me a little bit about you and what you do, and then we'll dive deep about like your growing up, your creencia, and how that affected your mental health.
my name is Sueey Gutierrez. I am a visual artist, and my family is from El Salvador.
Who don't know what a visual artist is, do you want to explain what that is?
I either paint or draw and I'm a multimedia artist. So I do from charcoals to color pencils to pastels, and paintings. I guess it's my most comfortable way of communicating.
Oh, I love that. And you have a website, right? It's suheygutierrez.com, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Awesome. So we'll link that down below because she has amazing work.
Thank you.
Um, but okay, so you're an only child and you were born here, right?
So I was born in Brooklyn. Mhm.
Oh, okay. So tell me how was that growing up as an only child, how that affected your mental health growing up with your parents?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sound like a Debbie Downer, but it was lonely. I was predominantly raised by my grandparents.
Mm,
So, mommy and papi had to work,
mm-hmm.
and my parents were there. And this is before like pre-K was like
Mm,
installed, like it was optional.
yeah,
So,
I remember
so
that.
I learned English going into school. Like when I got into school, I learned English because I only spoke Spanish because that's all my grandparents knew how to
Mm,
speak. And there was no other children. Like there wasn't like even now I still have an older family. They're
mm.
older. Like even and cousins are older than me. I'm the baby of our first cousins. I have second cousins and now third cousins.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm closer to their ages than my
Oh,
cousins.
that's so interesting. What's the
Yeah.
age gap between you and your first cousins?
They must be approaching their mid to late 50s. If not, they're in their 60s.
Damn, that's a
So my
gap.
mom is the baby of five children.
Okay, that makes sense.
As a child, like I didn't feel like I
Yeah.
connect with other kids. Like I was very much mature. Like I was very much like siempre seria, like very serious. Like, I like my dresses to be like this. I
Mhm.
want my stockings to be like this. My shoes need to be this way. Like I
Yeah.
was very particular. Sometimes I guess the teacher's like, oh, Suhei, she lives in her own world. Like she's great. She's well behaved. Like she does her work, but like she doesn't really interact with others. She likes her own company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I would let other people in when I was like, all right, like, I would just assess and I'll be like, okay, this, me and this person can, like, cohabitate or be together for a while, but then I need my alone space.
Mm,
So
okay.
and that hasn't changed.
I think that that's interesting. I think that also maybe I'm not sure comes with like just being an only child and also having that big age gap probably.
Probably, yeah. Even like with my like very close with my aunts and my uncles, the older ones now. They're at home right now. So it's just like
Oh,
it's
okay.
funny. It's like it feels kind of like we'll tease each other. And like I
Yeah.
understand like I guess within our culture, like, oh, you must have respect, but I like we'll hard teach each other. Like it'll be like, is that aggressive love? So
Yeah.
like we'll say certain things and a lot of people will be like, oh, but like we understand each other and it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the only important thing and stuff.
Yeah, but other than that, like growing up, I was okay with it. The only thing I felt like there was a setback for me connecting socially with other people.
Hmm.
That was the only thing, and I would kind of have a little pity party for myself. I'm like, oh, it's because I don't have brothers or sisters, or I know that there's a dynamic and a hierarchy that isn't discussed within
Yeah.
siblings, and like I don't understand that dynamic. There's natural like jealousy or competitiveness that exists within like the sibling dynamic, which I've never experienced. So it's just, all right, I don't understand what these feelings are, nor do I want to lean to discomfort and explore that. So I'm just gonna give you your space, and I'll get back to you like within 5 to 7 business days and see how you feel. I wouldn't say that, but like process it that way and then revisit it. I'm like, are you all right? Is everything okay? Cool.
This is when you were a kid?
Yeah, like a lot of communication doesn't happen verbally. It happens like non-verbally or like physically, and people don't understand those cues, but I've always understood it. Like,
wow. It's like a sixth sense.
No, it's not a sixth sense. I guess it attributes to trauma.
Okay.
I don't know if you call it that.
Yeah.
But like, my grandfather was a very reserved man. My dad wasn't really big on like talking about his feelings. I would just have to like read the room.
Yes. I think that comes a lot with and I'm not sure if this is in your case, just from the book that I'm reading. When you grow up with emotionally immature parents, that's kind of like what develops in a child.
I don't know if I would call them emotionally immature, or maybe it is. I just think they just did not have the tools to communicate how they felt, or they felt that that's not manly to do. You just
right, because you said your grandpa and your dad, right? It was just them.
Yeah, mainly them. And I think that exists in a lot of cultures. You just suck it up and go about your day. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us. And they're the ones that had they were alcoholics.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So that was their way of coping with whatever they were feeling.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, like back in the day, men weren't allowed to really talk about their feelings. And you see that a little bit today. Like men are starting to. I saw some men cry in the Barbie movie. More actors are crying on screen. And I think that's a great example for like men in general, because even my little younger cousin, who's a male, he's like, men don't cry. And my cousin was like, his sister was like, what are you talking about? Like, this actor cried on screen the other day and we were watching Barbie and some character cried. And I'm like, see, like, it's okay to cry. Men back in the day did not have that representation, or that it's okay to do it. So they unfortunately had to deal with it in like their own way.
Yeah, and I think that's great that it's being brought up that it's okay. Like, we're not made out of stone. We're not robots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we're allowed to feel, especially a man. Like, I'm sorry, if I see, like, even in real life, if I see a man cry, it takes me out. Like, I can't. I'm like, how much it took for that man to like express that emotion? Like, he had to dig deep, or it just probably he couldn't handle it anymore, and he's just crying. And I'm like, that takes a lot.
I know men would just bottle it up and then just suffer so much in silence, which is why they would, sometimes lash out in anger as well. But if you're okay with it, we don't have to go into it. Would you be okay with talking about alcoholism in your family?
Oh, yeah. That's
okay.
I think it'll be also helpful for me, because I don't talk about it because it's like shameful, I guess, or like you just brush under the carpet. Like, it's something that happened. I know some people are very uncomfortable in my family talking about it. So I don't want them to get offended or whatever, but like, if that's their way of coping, that's fine. Talking about it might be my way of like healing myself. Also, it's not like, I don't want to like, it's not hating at all at my grandfather and my dad. I made my peace with it.
Right.
And forgave them for that.
Yeah. And that's the important part, the forgiving. I know a lot of people have a hard time forgiving whoever, parents or grandparents, when they've done horrible things, but we have to remember they didn't know what we know now, and they didn't have the tools that we have now. So a big part is forgiveness. Like, how can you heal personally if you don't understand them and meet them where they're at?
Exactly.
When was the first time that you noticed that alcohol in the home was a problem?
3.
Wow.
I was probably 3 when I noticed that was an issue. I could still vividly remember being in my crib, like a crib of like wood, those old school 80s cribs like, with the wood. And I remember just like being restless. It was not at night, and my dad came home, and like I wanted to like give him kisses, right? So I give him kisses around the face, and I smelled his breath, and I don't know how I knew that then. I was like, mommy's not going to be happy about this.
Oh, okay.
And so like, and I knew in my mind that like, I didn't know what it was, but I know that he shouldn't be doing that. That's all I knew. That's it. but like I already knew what it was.
You were very young, but when did you know, like, oh shit, like this is gonna cause problems?
5, like
Wow.
between 4 and 5. Like my parents, because unfortunately my parents got divorced when
Hmm.
I was 5 because of the issue, because of
Okay.
the alcoholism. It already was there. It existed. Luckily, even though this may sound like cold, I guess
Hmm.
to say, but like my mom made a good decision. Like I know that they continued to love each other until he like passed away and it became more of a friendship,
Hmm.
but he just couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
And I already saw too much. In that way, the damage was done.
Right.
But other than that, like imagine what I would have seen if they stayed. My mom was very strong. She's a tough cookie, yeah. She is. But um even after that, I still saw the ramifications of his actions.
Hmm. How did that affect you? Because you were so young when you noticed all those things. Do you think it affected your mental health back then?
I didn't know that it was mental health.
Right.
I just thought it's just like something that I just don't talk about
Hmm.
because it's no one's business.
Right.
Who's gonna listen to me? We're in a different time, space, reality. We live in a
A
different
100%. Yeah.
time.
100%.
To a certain extent, like I'm a very analog up until this day. Like I'm very old school when it comes to certain things, but I know that like, you have to embrace the new. And it's
Hmm.
not because I was wanting to be that way. It's just this is what my surroundings taught me. Like, the idea of children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't speak until we speak to you.
Yeah.
Until then, continue to like color or eat your food or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Like who's gonna like it was like the idea that who's really gonna listen to me.
We wouldn't have known it was mental health back then, but now reflecting back on it, or you like more sad, anxious, like did you sleep a lot?
I think I was anxious and like I walked on a lot of eggshells. Now I know what that is. I would make myself small to
Hmm.
the point that I wouldn't be a problem.
Right, right.
So like not because any negative action would be taken against me, but I just knew like there's a lot of things going on here
Hmm.
that I don't have like I just didn't know.
Right.
Now I have the mental capacity. I didn't have the language nor like the mental maturity to like
Right.
communicate these things. Obviously, because I'm only like
You're a
five,
kid,
six,
yeah.
7. And so just remember like let me be as good as possible, whether it be just be being quiet or being like doing well in school or like whatever the case may be. I know other things needed to be fixed that I'm not able to fix. I can control these little things that can give moments of happiness.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just like, all right, so this is like, it makes sense. Like, 1 + 1 = 2. Like, I do well in school, mommy and dad are happy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
those kind of things. Like, I behave, grandpa is happy. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of maturing at a very young age, which makes sense when you said it was like you analyzing your friend's emotions was kind of a trauma response. So it makes 100% sense because that was your home life and you just brought it into your childhood and stuff.
Yeah, like, and I don't want it to sound like, oh, my home life was like a horrible thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't. Like, I honestly, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't know the things I know now.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be like it molded me in a way. Was it bittersweet? Yes. Like I had moments of immense happiness, you
Yeah.
know, especially with my grandparents,
Hmm.
like they were like, oof,
Yeah.
they're amazing. I mean, like, even though my grandfather also had a drinking problem, like I wouldn't trade him for the world.
Okay. And these grandparents, was it only one set of grandparents or did you have two?
I'm closer to my mother's
Oh,
parents.
okay, okay.
And then my dad's mom, like we had a distant relationship and it was for the best. She wasn't the nicest person in the world.
Oh, okay.
And I had a step grandfather, but I
Mm.
never met my biological one.
Okay.
Yeah, from my
Gotcha.
father's side. He was still living in El Salvador during that
Oh.
time. And I don't think my father saw him in years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't like I think he would reach out occasionally to find out about his dad. Dynamics of that family relationship was like out of a telenovela. I was just like, oh, this is too much. And like, I remember being so young, and I was like, all right, so my cousin, we don't share all the same last name. Like, I was literally thinking, like, they're all
Yeah.
playing, and I'm just like, whoa, her last name is this name,
Yeah.
mine is that, and yours. I was like, and our abuelo is not this. We don't have the same one.
Yeah.
Guys, that's what's up. And then they went and tell I was just like, we have different grandparents. Like,
Oh my God, so young going into like detective mode. We're like, hold on, wait a second.
they're like trying to figure out the puzzle pieces. And I remember getting reprimanded by like
Oh,
my
wow.
aunts. They're like, you can't say that. I'm like, but it's the truth. Why are you hiding this from us?
Why are you hiding the truth? Justice must come.
That's one thing that I'm like, I'll always get to the bottom of things. I may not discuss it, but I'm like, like, why?
Oh my goodness. Little Detective Suhei. What's it called? Did you ever try to do like the ancestry DNA thing?
I did not the ancestry one. I did 23andMe.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I have the energy to be doing all that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's like a rabbit hole, isn't
it's
it?
like a rabbit hole. I'm like, maybe if I retire, when I retire, like I'll have the time. Right now,
Yeah.
I don't like, but
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be cool to know, like, put the puzzle pieces together, you know?
Yeah. No, that's definitely it would be a cool adventure to like we could look into.
Yeah, like I said, I never met my biological paternal grandfather.
Right.
I knew the one that I had, and he was awesome. He was hilarious, you
Yeah.
know? But it would be cool to know that.
I want to touch on like this other part, and it's gonna be a little less heavy. When I went to Barcelona, I had a tour guide who talked about asking me because they seem to forget that they conquered us and that they, how do
Indeed.
you speak Spanish? Well, I'm Latina, so thank you. Um, and they were asking like a lot of Americans who are Latinos or whatever, they feel like they're neither here from there or from there. I'm like, yeah, there's that. That's very big over there. So thank you for that. But yeah, so on that topic, how do you feel dealing with both cultures? Do you feel like you feel misplaced here or there?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. And I'm so happy that you bring it up. Yeah, it's like a level of not enough.
Mm, yeah,
Or at least I've had to define what is enough for me
yeah.
and not for anyone else. For example, and going back to your Spanish story, like I went to Spain too,
Mm.
and like I wore huarachas from El Salvador over there. Like
Oh.
you're so beautiful. I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, probably no.
Love it. Love it.
And they're like, where'd you get it from? And there was this like, oh, my family's from El Salvador. And so like when I went there, I picked some up, and they're like, that is so nice. And they're like, oh, we don't know El Salvador. I'm like, do you? Do you not know? Just
Eye
like
roll. Big
eye
eye
roll.
roll.
And like when I speak Spanish, they're like, tu castellano, because they don't say Spanish. They say, tu
Right.
castellano es tan bonito. ¿Cómo aprendiste a hablar castellano? And I was just like, my grandparents, because my grandparents knew, like, like what I guess what they would call caliche, like, our
Oh.
standard Spanish, like in El Salvador, you know what I mean? And we
Oh, I
also
didn't know
use the
that.
word vos, like,
Right.
vos. They also say that way. And so
Vosotros, yeah.
yeah. And so when they speak, they also incorporate that in their language, but they also, especially my grandmother, she would say vosotros, vice. And I was like, oh, I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I'll do that to pass my Spanish class. I'm certainly not going to speak that at home because, like,
Yeah.
not how we talk. But I'm glad that you know that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll use that for my test. But so it was interesting, like that they would say, your Spanish is so nice. Where did you learn to speak Spanish? I was just like, home, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, how do you feel balancing both cultures while you're in the States or when you're in El Salvador?
So it's been a while as per like because of the pandemic since I've been back to El Salvador. Crossing my fingers it happens like next year, which is right around the corner. It's tricky. Even like the new body of work that I'm producing touches upon that, like the inadequacy or like
Mm.
of it, or it's like dealing with the sense of like grief almost.
Mm.
You know, like and like isolation and loneliness. Like I rather, sometimes I know it's a coping mechanism, like I'd rather be by myself
Mm-hmm.
than deal with the misunderstood feelings of others.
Oh, interesting.
I don't mean to sound, and it might sound prideful, and that's not the intention on this, but I don't need the approval of others
Mm.
to solidify my existence.
Right.
Whether it be in American culture, which
Mm-hmm.
sometimes still, I was born here, still boggles my mind, and in Salvadorian culture, which I fully understand and respect it. And there's something so beautiful about it. There's something like really old school about it. Like you have levels of respect. There is a level to this, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with your elders and stuff, which I feel sometimes is lost in American culture, right?
Oh, 100%. There's no respect for children
There's no
here.
respect.
What? None.
And then like kids, they're like, I mean, you know, people can parent and choose to rear their children the way they want to rear them, but some of them is just like, damn, they get no discipline at home. However, that may manifest for someone else, whatever how that may look like, whether it's a correction, having a deep conversation, but like sometimes it doesn't seem to exist.
Yeah, yeah. There has to be a balance. There's gentle parenting, there's like hard back in the day parenting, and then there's no
It was
parenting,
aggressive.
right? Yeah, which is just like this is too much. This is
Yeah.
okay. And then there's no parenting, and it's like there needs to be a balance.
And although I'm not a parent, I've been a former educator and I currently work with schools and I have to observe and see. And you can see the difference. Like when you go to certain schools, when I taught as an art teacher, I had like my Latinx students, right? Latinx, however, have anyone's comfortable defining themselves. I remember I would tell them, I was like, "Voy a llamar tu mamá." Like I will call your mom. And I know I'm like, you might not be scared of me, and that's totally fine, but you are scared of her, and that's all I need.
That's perfect.
That's like,
Like I know how to get you. I'm gonna call your mom. Like
I'm gonna call your mom. I was like, I know still if someone calls my mom, I know, I mean, like, and I am, you know, I'm grown.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still scared of mom. Mom still has control and power. So, like, she'll look at me, I'm like, okay.
Con la mirada, right? That's all she needs.
Yes, exactly. I'm quickly humbled. And I think that's beautiful. I think that is beautiful. And I love my mom for that, you know.
I think some people listening might disagree, but
I mean,
but to each their own, though. To
I
each
mean,
their own.
it's different. Like, don't tell. I'm not trying to say by any stretch of the imagination I'm a doormat. Like, I will definitely
Right.
stand my ground
You're
on
not.
certain
Yeah.
things. But like, when it comes to certain, I was just like, you know what? You pick and choose your battles
That's true.
with your family, and you
100%.
learn, like, once you learn that with family, you know to pick and choose your battles throughout life. So you want to know something? Like, I know my mom is very headstrong. So am I, but it's just like she's the type that won't let it go. Like she'll bring it up, like she'll bring up something from a year ago just to win her argument. I'm like, I was just like, todavía estás en esa? Like you're not over that yet? Like
Yeah.
that's old. Like that's
Yeah.
really old. But hey, you know, it is what it is. Navigating culture, like it's tricky. Like it's tricky. And depending on what room you're in, or like, you know, room or whatever space you're in, you just navigate it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like for you. Like I'm not out here trying to give anyone's advice. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. And maybe how the way I go about it may not resonate with someone else. And that's fine because I'm still trying to figure that out for me.
I mean, everything is so new still, right?
Yeah, like, you know, and depending where you are, sometimes like when it comes to the workplace, that's another beast, right? You know,
Yeah.
let me just lay low, do my job, grind it out, and be out at 5 o'clock or whatever that time is for you. You know what I mean? Let my work speak for myself, you know, for a very long time. And depending if you're in a corporate space, that may look different. If you're in a more relaxed space, you can vocalize more. If it's communicated to you that you have freedoms or like not freedoms, but like that privileges of like openly discussing your thoughts and ideas then you can. But then like for the most part, sometimes it's just like, all right, so I know what this is. I'm just trying to get a check out here. So like, I'm just gonna do what I need to do during this time. And like I'm out at this time. I'll just go home and relax or do what I need to do, work on my side hustle or whatever that is for anyone, you know. It is tricky. Or even within like when you're with people that are like you and they're born there and you're born here. To a certain extent, you can't compare experience. Their
No,
experience
yeah.
is different than yours, and it's there's an overlap, you know, like when it comes to like food, family dynamics, things like that. Um, but and depending how they came here, and if you're
Mm,
born here, you're privileged because you are,
yeah.
and there's no denying that.
100%. And I think I always think of the scenario of like the children who came so young from over there and now they're basically they feel closer to American culture or Americanized. And there's that fear of like, will I get deported to a place that I don't belong or I feel like I don't belong to?
You saying that, like, it's just like it's sad in the sense like someone has to hold those feelings on an
Yeah.
everyday basis.
Yeah, it's very sad, very scary, especially because I know most of them yearn to go back to visit their home country. Like it's a part of them, but they can't. And if they do, they can't come back. That's like something I'll never pretend to understand, but I do feel for them.
Yeah, I have like a few cousins like that, depending on your visa status, whether you're a permanent resident, like all
Yeah.
these
Or
different,
DACA, yeah.
yeah, exactly, all these different levels of things, like, or you may be a permanent resident, but you can't. I have a cousin that he can't travel anywhere else.
Oh, what? Really? I did not know that. I
I,
did not
I, I
know.
don't know what happened with his paperwork, and nor did I pry, but the fact that and I remember like we had this conversation like years ago, like his then boyfriend had to sneak him out to go somewhere. I really didn't know what to say to that. Like, what do you say to that other than just like listen, you know?
Yeah, there's some things that you just can't talk on. You can't reciprocate anything because it's not helpful. And even then, like they probably don't want reciprocation.
All you can say is like, thank you for sharing that with me, because I'm sure it's not easy to discuss that.
100%.
So
Yeah.
like there was an immense trust at that moment, and I loved him for it, you know?
Yeah.
You
Yeah. No,
know?
it's very important to heart. I know at one point in my life I wanted to be an immigration attorney and like just seeing what I saw, I was like, what immigration attorneys, some of them, not all of them, isn't enough. And a lot of these families also can't afford legal fees. So regardless of anything, everything just broke my heart. It's hard for everybody going through the process. It's not easy. Many people take it for granted and they're just like, just apply to be a citizen. It's never, ever, ever that easy.
It's sad because for some it might be easier than others.
Yeah.
Like depending, and I'm gonna stop talking about just Latin America, just globally. For some countries, it's easier than others.
Yeah.
And like
100%.
I don't speak on it. I just look at it. I was like, like, you know, why is that?
Do
Well,
you
like
know which countries are easier? Because I don't. I don't want to assume either.
most European countries, it's not hard.
Okay, I figured. I just didn't want to be like,
Like,
I'm pretty sure it's Canada and Europe, but I don't want to
but
assume.
like, but like, there's other places throughout the world that I can't speak of. I know that Europe has an easier time. I think most of us like get that feeling or understanding
Yeah.
of that. It's constant. Like the whole balancing, at least for me, is just it gets exhausting. All I can do is try to do the right thing for myself.
Hmm.
Uh and like I'm not trying out here like trying to offend anyone. I'm just trying to live. Like, you know,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
I mean, you observe, but you know,
it weighs heavily, especially like with everything that's going on in the world and stuff like that, politically and all other stuff. And you see it in the news, and it's just like, I'm gonna turn this off right now.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like people think it's a privilege, but back in the day, they weren't overwhelmed with this information. They were not.
Exactly.
Yeah, they had newspapers and you'd get it the morning of, and then you'd read a few things, but you wouldn't get this bombarded of all this information. Like it's not privilege. It's just like you need to protect your mental health because we're just consuming too much information now.
Exactly. You know, and even when you don't want to receive the information, it
Yeah.
just
It'll pop up in your feed.
somehow it
Yeah.
just shows up, and it's just like, okay, you
Yeah.
know, you
That's
take it.
enough phone for the day. Like
It's like, you know,
throw that in the trash.
and then you have like a coworker friend, do you know what happened? I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
okay.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I guess tell me now.
I didn't want to know, but sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Um,
but you can't live under a rock either, you know?
yeah, and it's hard to like find that balance between like not living under a rock or not, because it's like everybody knows everything nowadays. How can you set that boundary? It's like even if you don't want to see it, it'll pop up or someone will tell you. And there's that one friend who was just like binging the news. So before we wrap up, I do want to talk about like how you feel whenever you visit El Salvador. Do you feel like you don't belong, or like you're the American one in the family?
No, I don't feel that way at all, actually.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, I don't like until like I go to like El Mercado and I speak and they'll
Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
say something and I was like, "Mommy, come in because I want to buy this." Just like,
yeah, yeah.
But no, there is a level of peace that I feel when I'm there. Like
Oh,
as
nice.
much as American as I am, like I was born here, but I feel that like a good 75-80%, because this is where I'm from, like I guess belongs here, I guess.
Hmm.
There's that strong like 30%, slightly more depending on the scale of my mood that day, that when I'm there, that feels like home. I'm not in the city or anything. Like I'm just like in el campo or I'm on the
Yeah.
beach, and that feels like home. This is stressful. Living here
Oh, 100%.
is
Oh my
stressful.
God.
And it is, and I might not show it, but I live my life with a certain amount of anxiety.
Mhm.
But when I'm there, I could let go of that. Maybe you could attribute that to being on this is a vacation for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But like it feels good. I could really like my style. I can embrace it more when I'm there. Like I have
Yeah, you do
like
very
I have
have much like that style and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And things that we don't deal with on an everyday basis. Like I pass like, there's literally there's places that you have cow traffic. Like you
Yeah.
literally have to wait for the cows to pass for you to go through. And
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I love nature. So like I love to go backpacking, hiking. So like when I'm not like on a weekend, like my husband and I will go just be like, upstate New York or like hiking. But that's genuinely like you have to drive a distance to be there.
Yeah,
When
you're far
you're in El
too.
Salvador, you're like,
Yeah.
that's there. Like that
Yeah.
is your backyard, especially depending where you are.
Yeah.
But like that's what I love about it. And it's just like, and the weather, it's just like, oh, it's so nice. Like people complain about it being like, oh my God, the humid. I'm like, bring it on. Like I'm thrive. Like I'm a little like I'm so cold all the time. Like I'm a
Oh.
lizard. I love to be like on a rock, heated, nice. Like, it just makes me happy. Like it's just chill. It's just relaxed. I mean, granted, there's some places that because of the history of El Salvador. There's certain places like you just pick up like a feeling. I'm like, I can't be here for long for whatever reason. And
Oh,
there's
you
a
think so?
bittersweetness
Oh.
to certain places.
Yeah.
But like when I'm like in nature, like I said, like the beaches, the forest, or seeing a waterfall or something out there, it's like it's incredible. And I feel like this is where I belong. Ultimately, like I want to retire there and like have my little chickens and stuff.
Oh,
Like
that's so cute.
But like, yeah, no, I love it there. When you're with the people like that actually live there, so warm, so welcoming. And then they know, like, if you te sobrepasas, they'll check you. They'll be like your aunt. He's like, ¿Y con quién crees que estás hablando? Like, you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
cool. It's like we can handle it. We've handled it at home.
Yeah.
You can handle it from a random stranger.
Oh, it's so funny how you love that stuff, bro.
I mean, like, it's like talking to like one of my aunts, right?
Okay, so you
Like, I
feel
have
like
a
homey. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like once in a while, I'm like, okay, like I just like you roll your eyes a little bit, like low key, and just keep it
Yeah.
moving. But
Yeah.
I've been so fortunate not to have those experiences. So
Okay.
for the most part, I just love it there. Like you tell me that, and I'm thinking about like being in San Vicente, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
or San Sebastian. Or, I'm thinking
Yeah.
about just walking the streets. Like my mom was like, you walk the streets like so comfortable. This is before, like she just came back maybe like a month ago with my aunts and my uncles. And they're like, it's so different
Oh,
now.
yeah. Yeah.
It's so different. She was like, tenían Gucci. I was like, I'm sure they did, mom. I'm sure they did.
Not the Gucci.
I was like, you're right. Like, she was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
yeah, they're like, yeah. I was just like, wow, I wouldn't like when last time I went, I would be a little bit reserved taking out like my big camera,
Mm,
and
yeah.
this is going back like, and this is not even far or like a long time ago, maybe 7, 8 years.
Yeah, same with my grandmother passed away 7 years ago, and I had the same feeling. I was like, I have to have my purse clutched. I can't take out my phone, like nothing.
Yeah, and so I'm going to really look forward to like
It's a
experiencing
different
it
world.
this time I go, because like when we used to go, I used to leave everything like any like jewelry or anything
Yep.
like that, and just like wear flip flops, like shorts, a t-shirt, maybe
Yeah.
like fancy wood piece of jewelry that I bought from an artisan or whatever, and just like
Yeah.
go about my day. But like it's gonna be nice to like go back and like let that guard down a little bit. I think I'm gonna still be fairly reserved
Yeah. Yeah, that's
and
fair.
assess the situation,
Yeah.
but I'm really excited to go back. And I really love it there. It's so different.
There's a different culture shock now as someone who is Salvadoran who used to visit a lot. When I see like other people there, like Asians, whites, black people, and I'm just like, I'm very excited at one part, and then I also feel like my hidden gem has gone away.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you brought it up. I was
Yeah,
just like, wow, so like the cat's out of the bag, you know what I mean? Like everyone's gonna be all up on this. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm just like, I love this for us, but also like not all the time.
yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm happy for everybody who's benefiting from it. Like, there's a lot of small shops in El Tunco, now Surf
Oh
City,
my God.
that are gonna be very fortunate and stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's always and Tunco is always it's always beautiful. I remember taking surfing. Or
Oh, wow.
surfing humbling. Oh,
I'm too
humbling.
scared to do it, so props to you. I'm terrified of surfing.
I'm a strong swimmer, but I was just like that was rough. Like I
I
felt
bet.
like I don't know how to swim. I'm just floating. I'm just here. Just take me away because the rip tides and the currents are really strong.
Oh God, no
Um,
thanks. No, thank you.
but no, but it's really nice. Like I don't know. It sounds so cliche. I'm like, oh, it's really nice. Like I feel like it's like a Hallmark card. It's warm. It's like the colors, the food,
Yeah, the people,
the
the
people.
prices. If you're not paying for gas or milk, the prices are great.
Yeah,
Like,
and then it's just like even there, like when you go to the supermarket, right? Like over here, they have everything in the refrigerator, but the eggs they don't put in the refrigerator over there.
yeah.
So like even that was like different. Oh, everything smells at a certain time smells like a huge bonfire.
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
love that smell.
In the evening or like
In the
really early in the
evening
morning. Yeah.
because they're very selective yeah, as you know, and like they're very selective as to what they collect, like the sanitation department.
Yeah.
So like organic matter you have to burn, like if you ate some coconuts or like you did some yard work that you burn in your backyard,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And so like that scent, and then like oh, the roosters at, I was just like, oh my God, I love them until I didn't. I remember, I
So
remember
true. So
I
true.
was just like, I remember my father was born, and I want to visit. I haven't gone to San Miguel yet, but
Mm,
he was born in San Miguel, but was raised in San Vicente. So
okay.
we visit there a lot because we had close family friends that lived there. And I remember just waking up to the rooster. Just
Mm,
and it wasn't like one, it's just like it was a network of them. It's like one of them started and the other one 2 blocks away heard it, and then next thing you know all six of them are going. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna find every one of them. I'm gonna make a soup. Like I just wanted to like be quiet.
in Suhei's dream, she's like, "Yep, this is what we're doing, you bastards."
Yeah, but like it was nice because we would wake up early. I personally, and I don't mean to offend any, but I personally don't like chuco, right? Which
What
is
is
like
Chuco again?
Suco is like a fermented blue corn drink that they
Oh, okay,
serve
yeah,
in like a little jarroncito, like a little gourd that they dried. It's very traditional. They'll put like
okay,
a little like sour sauce on top with
yeah.
some raisins or some other condiment or beans, mainly beans.
Oh
My
yeah,
uncle,
my grandma tried to get me to drink Chuco last time, and I was like, "That doesn't look great." So no.
no, it's but thank you though. I've had it and I'm upset that I don't enjoy it you know,
Oh,
because
okay.
it's so like it's very traditional, and
Mm,
it's a beautiful like you see the cooking process, and it's really cool. My uncle loves it. So there's a church over there, like there's a main church, beautiful white, like you know, you think of white colonial kind of, you know,
mm,
looking church, and there's a beautiful, like an old tree there.
mm.
And so he wakes up in the morning. That's the only reason why he's waking up early in the morning. And we walk over so that he
Yeah,
can have his chuco in the morning.
that's cute.
He's like, oh, te lo pago. I'm like, no, I'm good. Have like an atol. Let's you can
Yeah, the
I'm like,
alternative.
yeah, but like things like that, little things like that, you know, that you don't get here.
Yeah, no,
And
I get that. And like you're describing it and talking about it. I'm just like, I'm there with you. Like I picture
yeah, like
myself, I see it, I smell it, like
yes, and like
I get
that's
the
what
feel. Yeah.
yeah, that's what like when someone talks about that, those are the memories that pop into mind. And granted, like I've developed those memories, an appreciation for it as I've gotten older. Because when I was a child, I would get so sick.
Oh,
Like I remember
no.
que me mordieron los popos,
Uh-huh.
and I got a fever. Like it was bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but like, and then I remember like we actually went. I remember it was like the early 90s, and my grandfather wanted to get his birth certificate, and unfortunately
Okay.
it's hard to get because of the war. The hospital was burnt down.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing, that's a reality, right? But I remember wanting ketchup,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember they gave me a ketchup packet. And I put it on my little like my grandfather would make me little miniature tortillas on top of the
Oh,
big one. He would make me mini.
cute.
I
Oh.
don't put ketchup on the big ones. It took me a long time to do that. Like do little ones, like your play ones. And I remember putting the ketchup on there, and it was gross.
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't like the ketchup that we have here.
Okay.
I'm like, what is this? It was sweet and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It was different, but now I like the experience going there now is completely different, and I love it.
It's definitely safer and stuff. I definitely asked a question about like if you feel different when you go to El Salvador because I have basically just been oblivious about the whole different culture identity things, and I think I'm definitely very grateful for being oblivious to that because I didn't feel left out. But there was this one time I went to Guatemala and they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm Salvadorian," and then they're like, "Okay," and then we're talking, and
You're
and,
okay.
yeah, they were like, "All right, sure you are," and then we're talking, and then basically talking about New York and how I was born and raised here, but I always say that I'm Salvadorian. Like I'm not Salvadorian-American, I'm Salvadorian. He goes, it's very beautiful that you say that because there's a lot of people who or Latinos that are first gen or not first gen or migrated over there and they don't claim their country anymore. They always say they're American. And he said it's really nice to finally see some people, or at least me, be proud from where they're from. And I thought that was so sad because I'm just like, I know me and my friends are proud to be from El Salvador and stuff, but there's also a different part of people that aren't, and that's the reality that we live in right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you got the opportunity for it to be reinforced, to like speak up on it.
Yeah,
Um, like you, I'm also very proud. I don't know any other both sides of my family are from El
yeah.
Salvador, but there was often a lot of times, especially like from my aunts, they're like, "You're no, you're not Salvadorian." They're like, "Yeah." They would say,
What?
that's why I say Salvadorian-American,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
just to like keep it like a nice bridge. Like yes, I was born here, but I'm also very proud of this, and this is what I've been raised to know as well, because of assimilation purposes,
Mm,
you know. And it's
yeah.
just like, and I know that's where it came from. Now looking back on it, now back then, because I was younger, I was a child. Like I just felt like it hurt my feelings.
No,
You
yeah,
know,
that's very hurtful to say to a
they're
child.
like,
Yeah.
"Tú eres americana porque naciste acá." I was like, okay. Great. But
Mm,
like I don't know this whole other language before I learned English. Like how like explain that. But I wasn't like again picking and choosing your battles. Like
right. That's
I'm
true.
not gonna go into it with you like or with them about that at that
Yeah.
time. So depending again, this is where you when you read the room, like you'll use certain language. I'll say like in certain places I'm Salvadorian-American, some places like El Salvador,
Right.
I'm Salvadorian. To me, it's all the same. It's
Hmm.
just a matter of like
Politics.
exactly. Thank you. That good
Basically
old word.
politics.
Yeah. Exactly. So just, trying to read the room. But I'm glad that, that was like enforced for
Yeah.
you. For me, it was different.
Yeah, no.
Places said, "Oh, that's amazing," and certain things, well, no, you're not. I was like, okay.
Yeah, no. I feel like as I'm getting older, the oblivious curtain is opening, and like people are just like talking about it more, and like when I visit other countries, it's become more of a conversation. When I went to Colombia, they're like, "How does it feel to be in America?" I'm like, "Well, over there we're not Americans. Over there we're Latinos, and here in Colombia we're Americans." I forgot what the question was, but they're like, "No, no, like, how is it being American or whatever, whatever?" I'm like, "Well, over there we are not American." And they were like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, that's our reality." And I think it's so amazing that a lot of people don't think that's our reality. A lot of people just think Americans are Americans. And then that's why when we go to Europe, they're shocked that we speak Spanish because they see Americans as dumb and they only speak English. And I get that. Media, social media.
Yeah, and I think unless you are and not necessarily having to be just Salvadorian or having to be Latin,
Hmm.
Latinx, or I think when you're first generation from anywhere,
Yeah.
you have to tackle those challenges. To other people, it may be just a normal everyday question, but they just don't understand the facets that go along with it. We're not white American, so we
Yeah.
don't know that experience. We're first generation or a depending, because
Depending who you
this
ask.
is
Yeah.
debatable too, but so it's just very interesting, and like it's so simple yet so complex at the same time.
I know. It's so interesting.
You might not show it, like it's an internal dialogue that's happening within yourself. You're like, oof, that one again. Okay, so how am I gonna
Yeah.
answer that?
Yeah. It's
Um,
very interesting, but it's ever ongoing. But I feel like with social media, as much as I love hate it, we are educating each other on it a little bit more every day.
yeah, exactly. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful tool. And I love hate it as well.
Meanwhile, we're creators online. It's like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
well,
more so. Yeah, I power to you because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take a 6 months break. See ya, and when I'm producing new work, you will hear back from me.
that's the goal for me too. I mean, it's like I want to take some breaks at a time, but we'll
I think
figure it
it's
out.
important, and I also think you mentioned something. Also, like you said that you're living be like behind a curtain. This curtain is opening up for you. I
Yeah.
don't think it's bad if you like, yeah, so long as you're aware, but if you want to stay there, cool. Like it's a nice place, it's safe.
No,
Like
yeah, I try to stay there. I try not to dwell. I mean, it's like, wow, this is like what people really think. I mean, it's like, well, I'm Southern, so yeah, yeah.
yeah, tough
So
cookies.
yeah, so I think I've always been, for some reason, I've always been so prideful. I don't know why. I think maybe because my dad served them in the Civil War, or I don't know. But I was always so prideful, and I was like, I'm going to all the parades, like I'm dressing up, like even in school, like they'd be like, that's not cool, and that's like lame, and I'm just like, I don't care, like like
Yeah.
for that, I never cared. We do have to wrap up the episode. But I do want to ask you, for anyone listening, what's one piece of advice that you'd like to give them?
This is such a good question. Define yourself
Mm,
and embrace the process. And I'm still doing it. I'm not any expert by a stretch of the imagination, but don't let society or other people define you. You take the parts that you love most of your culture and you make it your own. And you wear that with pride and you do it for you, for people that actually take it on as like, this is me, like, and like want to be like a public figure and all that other stuff. That's a large responsibility and it's a large weight to carry on one's shoulders. In the process of you trying to, I guess, find yourself, just take the best parts of whether it be American culture, Salvadorian culture, and you make it your own and own it. People that resonate with it will connect with you, and then folks that don't, they're not meant for you. But hopefully, like, people will understand that you're being a genuine, real human being, and they'll love you for it. And I think people appreciate that. People appreciate honesty and
yeah.
truth.
Your
You
people will
know,
find you.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Your tribe will find you,
Yeah.
but like own it and be proud of it. I'm getting closer to that every day. You know.
Oh, I love that. That's so deep. I love that.
You know
Oh,
me, I
thank
love a
you.
good deep conversation.
Hi, I hope you liked that episode of Journey with Jess with Sueey Gutierrez, my good friends. I encourage you guys to leave a comment or ask anything that you want to ask, request something in the future. Please don't forget to give 5 stars. It means the world to me. And subscribe. I hope to see you here next week for the next episode of Journey with Jess.
Thank you for listening to Journey with Jess.